into them.
Okay, I'm going to call the monthly meeting of the Town Council for Westville to order. Going to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we're all working towards reconciliation. Also acknowledge the contributions, legacies, and histories of the African Nova Scotia people who have been here for over 400 years. With that, roll call. Councillor Helen Dunn, Councillor Mitch McGregor, CAO Weirs, Recording Secretary Reed, Councillor Danielle Fraser, Deputy Mayor Sarah McKinnon, and myself, Mayor Lenny White, all here and accounted for. Declaration of conflict of interest. Anyone having a conflict of interest to report? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on. Additions and deletions and approval of the tentative agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as circulated.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question.
Question.
Questions called, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Approval of the minutes, public hearing, meeting on November the 25th.
Your Worship, I move to accept the public hearing meeting minutes of November 25th, 2024.
I'll second that. Oh,
Sorry?
that's okay. I'll
Moved and
second.
seconded, ready for the question.
Question.
Questions called, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Regular council meeting of November the 25th.
I'll do the same for that one if you like. I'll move to approve the regular council meeting minutes of November 25th, 2024, as circulated.
Okay, I'll second that one.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question.
Question.
Questions called, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Committee of the whole meeting.
I'll move to approve the committee of the whole meeting January 20th, 2025.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question.
Question.
Questions called, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Committee reports. First report is my report for the 2 months, I guess, which was circulated to everyone. And I'll probably post it on my Facebook page when I get an opportunity. Busy month, or month and a half, I guess, since we probably met. Nothing else to report on that at this point in time, other than what's in the report, I believe. Committee, or council's, sorry, council reports. Deputy Mayor McKinnon.
All right, good evening, everybody. Fairly typical month. I attended all committee meetings. I responded to some citizen emails. I was pleased to see, after attending the Walter Duggan SAC committee meeting, that they are doing some really great things there, and excited to see what they're going to do for some mental health and wellness activities for the students. I think that's very important, so I'm pleased to see that coming up. My Northumberland Regional High School SAC committee meeting is not until later this week on Wednesday. Attended the Police Commission meeting and was pleased to see some of the speeding concerns that our citizens have on Cowan Street were addressed more last month, so that was positive. And also the fire department appointing their new positions occurred this month, and I believe that is my report for, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Next would be Councillor Helen Dunn.
Good evening. I attended 3 online finance management for elected officials training, Planning Advisory Committee meetings, Committee of the Whole meetings, Police Commissioner Board meeting, Code of Conduct training, which we done today, this morning, tonight's council meeting, New Year's levy, which was wonderful, great turnout, and some phone calls for some citizens, and they were resolved, so happy campers.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Fraser.
Good evening, everybody. I as well attended the committee meetings that I have to. The LOC of the Pictou County Partnership. If you are not aware of Pictou County Partnership, please check it out. They are up to so many good things in this area. I know a lot of people during my campaigning didn't necessarily know a lot of what was going on in the area and felt that they weren't being kept up to speed. That would be one thing that I would suggest, is is to join their page, maybe get on any email lists they have. They are doing a lot of things in the area, and we're working closely with them. So Pictou County Partnership is a good thing to do. I also attended the financial training that Councillor Dunn was mentioning, and it was quite informative. It was 3 days online. We've got a pretty good grasp on that. We're coming up on some budget stuff, so we'll be expected to put that training to use. But yep, answered some emails and everything's good.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor McGregor.
Thank you.
And by the
Your-
way,
Your
it's
Worship.
alphabetical. It's nothing, you know.
I understand.
After
I
the,
understand.
just so we know, going forward, the deputy mayor always goes first, and then it's alphabetical after that, so.
I understand.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's not my first trip with this. Yeah. We had some different last names. I was never at the end until now. But that's okay. Thank you, Your Worship. Very typical month and a half, same as the rest of the council. Attended all the meetings that was required, with the exception. I did miss the committee of the whole. Unfortunately, I was out of town for work that particular night, but I've been filled in on the matters that took place there. Just kind of two things I want to just address and mention. So we did bring up some concerns around speeding at the police commission last month on Temperance Street, and we were able to get the sign and some data there that was reviewed with us. Discussing maybe getting the sign in a different location because it might not be appropriately placed to kind of get folks where they're speeding, because they were kind of slowing down for the tracks already. But we did have some concerns raised to myself about, significant speeding on North Main Street happening again, and I can attest to it because I see it, I hear it. It sounds like the Formula One some days going down North Main. So they are. The police commission did recommend that we place the sign down there again and get some more data in and around the speeding there. So I think we know what it's gonna. I think we know what it's gonna show. The other one is the Glenhaven board. Unfortunately, didn't have their meeting. It was going to be the first meeting and orientation, but it happened to be the day of the substantial leak that took place there. So we didn't have that meeting. But what I can say is the CAO and myself have been provided ongoing updates from the folks that manage the facility to let us know what's taking place. So for those that don't know, there was a significant water leak in the basement floor, Whispering Tides hallway, which houses, I understand, most of the dementia patients in that hallway. So everybody's been able to be safely relocated to other facilities within the county and elsewhere. I believe even accommodated some of them within the facility. So they've transitioned with that. And now operationally dealing with the cleanup and the remediation and things of that nature. So I think that's probably all that I could share that's appropriate at this time. But the board is aware of it. The CAOs and all the municipal units that own it are aware. So lots of work ahead to be done in that particular hallway. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. CAO Weirs?
Thanks, Your Honor. I will make a couple of, focus on a couple of things. I did get an email today, in fact, from the federal government informing us that Westville's application for Enhanced Accessibility Small Projects Grant has been approved. I don't exactly know how much we got. I know I applied for $115,000. All the note said was you've been approved and somebody will call you and whatever. So I think that's good news. I just don't know what the quantum is.
And what that was, just elaborate a little bit on what we intend to use that.
Yeah,
funds
so
for.
that'll go to assist with Megan's Place and the accessible washroom that we want to put in with that. So that'll help us along. Would just want to highlight the water meter project. So we're moving along with the replacement of water meters. We're at about 800 meters installed, so we're over 50%, I guess. There are multiple teams out there working. The postal strike has slowed things down a bit, but we're reaching out, and where 3 notices have been given to people and they haven't responded and made an appointment to get their water meter, We'll be putting a door knocker on those doors in the very near future. And you know, it will encourage people strongly to get their meter or face the reality of having the water service turned off. There is no option. Everybody has to be on the water meter. You don't have to get service from the town, I suppose, but to get service from the town, you have to have a new water meter. So I encourage everybody to sign up as quickly as possible to get your new water meter in and proceed that way. And I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anyone have any questions about the CAO from his report at all?
Sorry, if I could just
Go
add
ahead.
one more item, sorry. Garbage collection schedules
yes.
will be changing in April. So not tonight, not this week, not next month, but a couple of months out. As of April 1st, there will not be garbage collection anywhere in Pictou County on Mondays. So they're moving to a 4-day collection schedule, and the reason for that is because so many of the statutory holidays fall on Mondays.
That makes sense.
That it kind of
Yeah.
screws up the, you know, makes complicated the schedule, the pickup schedule after every statutory holiday. So they've decided to shift to a 4-day collection schedule. They're still working 5 days a week, but a collection schedule, and they're using the Monday then to pick up stuff they aren't able to get to in the usual manner. So there'll be lots more notification from the shared service organization as we get closer, but I just first early warning to folks that there will not be starting April 1st garbage pickup on Mondays.
And we don't yet know how that's going to affect the rest of the days. That
Yeah, it'll just move it around.
There's going to be some
somehow.
shuffling probably, but it'll only be 4 days a week, as you say. All right, thank you very much for that. And I just want to note before we leave the CAO's report that the amount of activity that's going on in town can be evidenced through Mr. Weir's report on a monthly basis. There's lots going on, lots of important things. Now let's move on then to Protective Services, Chief of Police report, which was attached to your agenda. And, sorry, Protective Services, also including the Fire Department report as well. Both of those under one action.
I'll move to approve the Protective Services Chief of Police report and the Fire Department report attached.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question?
Question?
Question is called. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Moving on then to Recreation, Culture, and Leisure Services, the coordinator's report was attached as well. Motion to
I'll move
accept.
to accept the Recreation, Culture, and Leisure Services, RCLS Coordinator report attached.
Yeah, I
I'll
will
second
second.
it.
Okay.
Moved and seconded
We're both.
and thirded. You're ready for the question?
Question?
Question's called. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. And once again, that report details an amount of activity that's going on in town around recreation and culture activities. There's lots going on. And I encourage people to have a look at the Facebook page for recreation to keep up to date on activities that are going on. Lots of things happening in that department. Thank you. Moving on then to Transportation and Environment and Health Services, which includes the water report, the Public Works report, and the solid waste report.
Okay, fine. I will move to accept the minutes
Move.
as presented.
Move to accept. You ready?
I'll
Second it.
second it.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question?
Question's called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay, moving on then to the Pictou County Transit Report, which was attached as well.
I'll move to accept the Pictou County Transit report as attached.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. I'm, for one, am pleased with the numbers that appear there. I know they're not great numbers, but I think there's been some uptake on it, and I think it behooves us as a council to continue to promote the transit service and perhaps do a better job than what we've done to this point in time, I will say, as far as making people aware of the times and so on that's available. But I personally am encouraged by the numbers that I see in that report to this point in time. Okay, moving on then to, did we have a motion on that? I'm sorry. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, environmental development, fire inspection, and the planning and development report for November, and the reports were attached.
I'll move to accept the environmental development, fire inspection, planning and development report from November attached.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question?
Question is called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on then, correspondence. So we had a letter from the municipality of the county of Pictou. Basically, it's for information to advise us that they are working, or recently released the public drafts of the new municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw for the county. As probably most are aware, they did not have a comprehensive land use planning and doesn't meet the current minimum standards that are required by the Act. So they're taking action to make that commitment to do that. And it's basically a courtesy to us to let us know, and if we had any questions, and if it, thinking that it may affect us as a town, because we're surrounded by the county, as we know, we can make them aware of that. That's all that is. The second letter of correspondence was from the municipality of Chester, and this is apropos of the Code of Conduct meeting that Councillor Dunn and Fraser and I attended this morning, training on that matter. Just so people are aware, the province has passed a Code of Conduct for all municipal councils in the province. So all municipal councillors, mayors, wardens, whatever, are included under that Code of Conduct. Our council here have all signed that Code of Conduct, and we have submitted that to the province as was required. Basically, this letter from Chester, municipality of Chester, is raising some concerns about some of the wording in the Code of Conduct legislation, particularly with regard to the concern that they may be precluded from, a council member may be precluded from in being involved in community organizations. And of course, the point is made that most councils around this province, and ours is no exception, if I look around the table, we're all involved in other organizations outside of council. And that's why we became interested in being on council, no doubt. So there was some concern about that. That question was raised this morning at the session. I don't know that there was a satisfactory answer, other than the fact that common sense must prevail.
Yeah, Your Worship, it came down to people
Yeah.
making their own decisions.
I think, we can interpret whatever way you want, but, you can always declare a conflict of interest as well. That's why we had that there. And so if you thought there was the slightest indication, so something came up with regarding to the food, what do we call it now, Danielle? Sorry.
Helping Hands
Helping
Pantry?
hands,
Yeah.
then Danielle would be probably, exclude herself from that, declare a conflict of interest. But other than that, I personally don't see it as a major issue. There's nothing here that we have to respond to. I think they just sent it to us for information. So we'll proceed with that.
Your Worship,
Go ahead.
I would echo the comments from the municipality of Chester in that email, though, that letter. It's well written and
Yes.
has been a concern of mine and other councillors as well. Like you said, you look around the table. I'm on the Rink Commission in Westfield, and amongst other things, I think
Yeah.
everybody here is involved with something, and it's just not fair to rural Nova Scotia to have to pick and choose, right? And I don't know that that's the intent, and hopefully Minister Lohr will be able, or whoever the minister is now, will be able to get back to us with some kind of, or them at least, which in
Right.
theory we will all get notification of, right?
Yeah.
So.
And
It was
just,
noted this morning, by the way, that, you know, when the session was being held, representatives from the NSFM were taking notes on every issue that was raised, and they're gonna be bringing those to the department, you know, for further clarification, or, you know, there may be some adjustments needed in the code. I think, you know, there may be some changes coming to clarify some of the things that are in there.
and there is mandatory training coming up.
There's
Today
ma-
wasn't mandatory, but
There is mandatory training, it's gonna be virtual, that we all must take, and there will be a quiz. God, it's a long time since I wrote a quiz, so I don't know about the rest of you, I'm a little apprehensive about that part of it, but, you know, I think we'll get through it, probably. But yeah, that's coming up in February, so look for that, you'll all be getting notification of that. So that was that one. The correspondence with New Glasgow, you will recall that at our November meeting, the last meeting that we had, regular council meeting, that it was raised about the fluoridation of the water being removed in New Glasgow, that I know all of us around the table were not aware of until a resident raised it and asked what we knew about it. So, and council directed that I, as your representative, send a letter to New Glasgow expressing our concern that we weren't notified, and that asking for someone to come and speak to us and give us an update on where it stands. So that letter is in your packet. That's a letter that was distributed, sent to New Glasgow, to Mayor Dix, under my signature, basically regarding that, saying that we were a little bit surprised that we weren't notified, and that we'd ask a representative from New Glasgow to be able to attend a Westville meeting. I did note today when I was looking at it, by the way, that, and I didn't notice it when we said it, the date was wrong. We said, you know, January 23rd. It meant, I think we were thinking today, January 27th. We have not received a reply to that letter, other than the fact that when the postal strike was on at the time, so I sent an email to Mayor Dix, with a copy of the letter, saying because of the postal strike, I'm sending it via email. And I did get a reply to that email, simply acknowledging receipt of it, and that she was passing it on to the appropriate staff for consideration, and that they would provide someone to speak to us at the appropriate time with information on it. Just as a follow-up to that, after the Code of Conduct meeting this morning, Mayor Dix was there as well. I had a brief chat with her and to ask the current status. And what I learned from that was, number one, the water is still being fluoridated. They have not stopped with the fluoridation at this point in time. Number two, they are pursuing discussions with Department of Health and doing further investigations themselves into the matter. And she assured me once again that once they have completed their work and decision-making around it, someone will come and speak to us to inform us and update us. So that's where that stands currently.
That's good.
Okay, moving on then to new and unfinished business. Financial report. Where does that stand, CEO Williams?
Well, so in your package, you do have to December 31st, kind of summary of where we are. I think it's fair to say the town's in pretty good shape, ish. I mean, given the realities of Westville's fiscal capacity, we're in the right zone. So we're about 75% of the way through the year at December 31st, and our expenditures are about 76% of budget. So, you know, not bad. We've had a few how do I want to say it? Not windfall profits, but we've found a little bit more money than we otherwise would have at some point in this fiscal year, and I've forgotten when. There was a bit of a payout to the town as a result of Fiona damage that we had identified, and some of our interest on our deposits are a little higher than we had anticipated. So, as I said, generally, I think we're in, you know, it's not that we're out of the woods, but, you know, there's no crisis right now. And, you know, we've got, you know, the coming fiscal year, I think will be a challenge as we have a number of projects that we're going to be paying for. So Cowan Street, the roof on the Public Works building, and some of those sorts of things. So there are some, not challenges, but there are some fiscal realities that we're going to be facing over the next little while that we'll have to deal with. But as it is now, we're in pretty decent shape.
Very good, I appreciate that. Any questions from council regarding that? And this is being provided as a preliminary step to the fact that we're going to be going into budget discussions very shortly, within the next week or so. So, and the goal this year is to have our budget approved in a timely fashion, much sooner than it's been in the last number of years, and maybe be ahead of the curve as far as having those things ready for the new fiscal year. So, thank you very much for that.
Just
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt for one moment, can I ask somebody in the audience to please open the front door? We have somebody trying to join council tonight, and the door is locked.
Clary.
Yeah,
There is a buzzer there that people are to use to,
No.
that,
he buzzed me. Yeah.
there is a buzzer that buzzes up here
That's hilarious.
Right.
when someone's can't get in. Yeah.
Just that the front door's locked.
Not sure how it got locked, but we apologize for that one.
I don't know how it got locked.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on then, while the door's being unlocked. Temporary borrowing, CAO Weirs.
Yeah, so everyone, in your packages, you'll see a TBR, temporary borrowing resolution, for $730,000, and that is to provide funding to do our water meter project. So what you've got there is, it's pretty straightforward. That's what we believe we need to be able to pay off the meters and the contractor installing them. And in order to line ourselves up for the May debenture sale, this is the process by which we do this. So ask you to give consideration to this. We've talked about the water meter. We've talked about the water meter issue, the reason for it. I'm hopeful that once we have new water meters in, we will see two things happen. One, our purchase and sale of water will come more into alignment. It'll never be perfect, but right now it's very much out of whack. And I also believe that as new meters go in, we will see an actual reduction in the consumption, because people will be paying for the water they actually use. The vast majority of the water meters in this town are between 25 and 30 years old, and they are not performing accurately. And as a result of that, our purchase and sale of water doesn't align. So I think people will find that there will be some increase in their water bills, as with new meters, you're going to get accurate readings, and I think the shortest possible way to explain it is, for many years now, many people in town have been undercharged for the amount of water being used, because the meters have been inaccurate, because they're old. And so that is the reality.
So we need a motion to approve the borrowing resolution, temporary borrowing resolution. It's before us. The wording is there. If someone wants to grab that, the chair would accept that resolution.
I will move.
There's a lot of reading, I know.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to read the whole thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The
I'll read
CAO
it.
can read it for us.
Okay, you go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so whereas Section 66 of the Municipal Government Act provides that the Council of the Town of Westville, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, may borrow to expend funds for a capital purpose as authorized by statute. And whereas the council of the town of Westville has adopted a capital budget for this fiscal year as required by section 65 of the Municipal Government Act, and where so authorized to expend funds for capital purposes as identified in their capital budget, and whereas the specific amounts and descriptions of the projects contained in Schedule A attached, therefore be it resolved that under the authority of section 66 of the Municipal Government Act, the council, town of Westville, borrow a sum or sums not exceeding $730,000 for the purpose set out above, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that the sum to be borrowed by the issue of and sale of debentures of the council of the town of Westville to such an amount as the council deems necessary, that the issue of debentures be postponed pursuant to section 92 of the Municipal Government Act, and that the sum or sums not exceeding $730,000 in total be borrowed from time to time from any chartered bank or trust company doing business in Nova Scotia, that the sum be borrowed for a period not exceeding 12 months from the date of approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing of this resolution, that the interest payable on the borrowing be paid at the rate to be agreed upon, and that the amount borrowed be repaid from the proceeds of the debentures when sold.
Someone like to move that motion, resolution?
Okay. I will move to accept the temporary borrowing resolution as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Just a quick question on that there, with the 12 months. It's no more than 12 months because obviously there's spring and fall debenture sales that you wouldn't, there should be no
Yeah.
reason to go beyond the 12, right?
Correct, yeah. And so the idea is to give us the ability to borrow the money should we need it between now and the debenture sale, which happens at some point in May.
Right.
I don't think I actually know the date right now, but it's May and October, I think it is usually when they have. I think you're right.
Okay, moving on then. Purchasing and tendering policy. CA Weirs.
Yeah, so in your packages, you'll have seen a proposed amendments to the purchasing and tendering policy. By and large, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the policy, other than it's a bit outdated. And as inflation and things happen, what I've proposed really is just raising the limits a little bit so that it makes it more, makes more sense in 2025 as opposed to 2017 when it was built. And I think, I know that the material or the document was circulated to you in both email, and you've got it in front of you in hard copy. And we used track changes so you could see exactly what we're proposing. If you approve the amendments, then what we'll do is generate a new clean copy that would then go into the town's policy binder.
So we're dealing with approving the amendments, the changes only,
Correct.
as opposed to the whole policy at this point in time. I mean, changing the, adopting the amendments would in fact create that anyway, correct?
And I can read you, if you'd like, a resolution on that.
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Westville Town Council approved a purchasing and tendering policy in 2017, and the policy has not been reviewed or amended since its approval. And whereas the dollar limits and some of the language contained in the current policy get in the way of efficient purchasing and procurement practice, and whereas council members have had an opportunity to review and discuss a number of the changes proposed by staff to update and modernize the purchasing and tendering policy, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council approve the revisions to the purchasing and tendering policy as presented.
All right, ready to proceed on that? Motion would be accepted.
Yeah, I move to accept the amendments.
Have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Yeah, ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay, moving next to legal advice fee structure.
Yeah.
Mr. Weirs.
Our town of Westville has long used Patterson Law as to provide its municipal solicitor services. The rates that that organization has charged us have not changed since 2023, and they have reached out and said that that can't continue. They're proposing-
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Yeah, so they're proposing what I would argue are very modest increases in their charges. So at the partner level, it's a $25 an hour increase. At the associate level, it's about a $40 an hour increase, and at paralegal level, it's about a $20 or $15 an hour increase. I have a resolution related to this, if you would like me to read it.
I noticed that the town solicitor's position is missing from the,
Yeah,
Increase. Is that-
because I think the town solicitor in 2023 is now a partner.
right, okay,
And so.
It's covered under the partners.
It's covered under the partners,
Okay.
yes, that's my understanding.
yes, okay.
So the resolution with regard to this, whereas Patterson Law, and most of you will know that it's really Dennis James is the individual lawyer that we 99% of the time use. So whereas Patterson Law has served as Westville's town solicitor for a number of years, and whereas the rates that Patterson Law charges Westville for legal services have not been adjusted since 2023, and whereas Patterson Law has proposed a new fee structure as follows: partners $225, associates $190, and paralegals $140. Therefore, be it resolved that Westville Town Council accept the Patterson Law fee structure as presented. And as I said, in my from my perspective, they are pretty pedestrian increases. They are not outstanding, shocking in any way, shape, or form.
Definitely not to the point where we would look to retender and,
Exactly.
you know, you have the
Yeah.
whole history of everything, and that's just not worth it.
Right.
It's not even worth a discussion, I don't think.
Exactly. That would be my perspective as well, Council.
Ready for our motion?
I'll
to accept?
motion to accept the legal advice fee structure changes from Patterson Law as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
I believe that's the first time you've done that since I've been here.
I believe you're correct in that. It's the first time since I've been here as well. Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
It's a good thing. And, you know, and we should note that obviously we're happy with the service that we're receiving
Yeah.
from Patterson at this
We
point.
get very timely,
Right.
very useful service whenever we need it.
Right. That's good. Viola's Place. C.L. Weirs, do you want to speak to this to begin with, perhaps again?
So, Viola's Place, as most people will know, provides shelter for people who are homeless. And the homelessness issue, the housing insecurity and homelessness issue in Pictou County, like everywhere else in the country, the province and the country, has been getting worse since, well, for a while, but particularly noticeable since the pandemic, COVID pandemic, such that, you know, it's becoming a bit of a challenge. The town of New Glasgow has noticed some challenges as a result of having Viola's Place in New Glasgow. And Viola's Place has noted that, you know, the people who access their services are not exclusively from New Glasgow. They are from all the towns in the county, all the towns and the county itself. And so, in some ways, Viola's Place and the town of New Glasgow are bearing a disproportionate amount of the work and challenge that homelessness and housing insecurity create. And they have proposed an approach in conjunction with an organization called Org Code, which is headquartered in Ontario and focuses almost exclusively on dealing with housing insecurity and homelessness issues, have proposed an approach of developing a plan to kind of deal with homelessness and housing insecurity on a more regional basis, so that it's not just the town of New Glasgow dealing with it. And they're looking for the towns and county to come forward and help fund that study. The study they have a 4-point plan, a 4-point project. They're looking for, the cost is about $13,000 plus applicable taxes, and Viola's Place came and presented to the mayors and warden meeting, I guess it was last Monday, or
Yes.
2 Mondays ago, one of the two.
1 week ago.
I think it was last Monday, so a week today. And proposed that, made this request to develop this regional approach to dealing with homelessness and housing insecurity. At that time, the indication around the table was that all municipalities in the Pictou County area were supportive of this sort of thing, and each municipality or each CAO was asked to bring forward to their council a request to see whether the town would be interested in paying 1/6 of the cost. So in our case, it's probably about $2,500, which would cover both the cost of the consulting fees and the applicable taxes.
Yeah.
So I have a resolution to that end, should you want me to read it.
So, before you do that, CAO Weirs, it should be pointed out that Viola's Place did make a presentation. I don't know if it was this current council, it was probably the previous council, I'm thinking.
It was.
It was,
Yeah, at one point in time. And the thing that struck me, I guess that most people aren't perhaps aware of, is the fact that they do more than provide housing, temporary housing for homeless individuals. They are involved in a lot of support programs as well in the community with people who aren't necessarily staying there on a nightly basis. And some of the information that's provided in your packet was what we received at the mayors and wardens meeting when they did a presentation last Monday. And the housing support program, the trustee program, and the other things that are mentioned in that report, I think are significant contributions to overall housing situation in the county. And beyond housing, it's what's mixed in there is the mental health issues, the addiction, drug addiction issues, and they're trying to combat that. I will say that at the meeting with the mayors and wardens, it was pointed out and suggested by myself and another mayor that perhaps they needed to be more focused on what their mandate is and their vision, and even address it in a new vision statement. Because it seems like, none of us can solve every issue that we face in this county. We just can't. And sometimes you have to, it's unfortunate, but you have to say, no, we don't have the capacity to do that. And I think one of the things that I'm hopeful, at least personally, that will come out of this study, that this group is going to do, these consultants are going to do, is some degree of discussion around that and what the new entity may look like, Viola's Place. And I mean, really, I see it as that the process that we're looking at funding to contribute to the cost of the consulting would be at the end of it to come up with a plan for Pictou County to address homelessness. You know, there's lots of other organizations that are looking at that, and we have the new housing and affordable and supportive housing group that exists now. So, you know, there's lots of people that are trying to address this issue. But my hope would be that the work that comes out of this process will help us to direct in more a direct way. But and also what C.A. Weir's mentioned is true, that right now it's centered in New Glasgow. All you need to do is read the press and see the comments and so on that goes on there. There's lots of concerns around it being voiced by residents in that area, and rightly so. It's an issue that we all should be trying to solve as best we can. So that was my take on the presentation that came, and what I understand the focus of the work that this consultant group is going to be doing for our $13,000, or our portion being around like the CO $2,500 basically. So there is a resolution that's
There is,
suggested.
yeah, I'll be happy to read it, Your Honor. Whereas homelessness has become an issue in communities across Nova Scotia and Canada, and whereas New Glasgow, as the service hub for Pictou County, attracts persons experiencing homelessness from across the county, and whereas neither Viola's Place nor the town of New Glasgow can shoulder all the responsibility to address homelessness in Pictou County, and whereas Viola's Place, as a primary homelessness resource in Pictou County, has reached out to Cord Consulting for assistance in developing a regional approach and strategy to address housing insecurity and homelessness realities in Pictou County, and whereas Code Consulting has proposed a 4-point project that is designed to develop a regional plan to address housing insecurity and homelessness in Pictou County for $13,000 plus applicable taxes, and whereas the warden and mayors of Pictou County have jointly reviewed and see value in the Viola's Place Code Consulting proposal to approach housing insecurity and homelessness regionally. Therefore, be it resolved that Westville Town Council endorses the Viola's Place Code Consulting proposal and pledge to cover 1/6, approximately $2,500 of the cost of the proposed 4-point project designed to develop a regional plan to address housing insecurity and homelessness in Pictou County.
I will move to accept the resolution regarding the strategy to address homelessness needs in Pictou County.
Have a
I'll
seconder?
second. Yep, I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
Questions being called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Motion carried. I think that we're probably the first council to deal with this, to my knowledge at least anyway. All the other 5 councils will be dealing with it when their meeting comes, but I think we were the closest one to the meeting last week to have a council meeting, so we will let them know that we're on board with that, which will be good news for them.
Just a quick comment there, Your Worship. I recall from when Viola's Place did the presentation, and they talked to us about you know, the many issues that they face in trying to help people there. And they talked to us about the people from Westville. And I just remember that meeting, it was very, it hit close to home when they said, there is homeless people in Westville. There are many people that are living in unacceptable housing, and there are many people in our community that are without housing. So massive shout out to Viola's Place and the work that they do there, especially on these super cold winter nights. We are thinking of those that are in need in our community.
Yeah, very, very good point. And I think that, as a society, we're judged on how well we deal with those people, those vulnerable people in our society. I think that's the true mark of how do you rate a society as being a good society? Let's put it that way. And I think really it's how do you approach and how do you deal with the most vulnerable in your community? And so this goes a long way towards that, I think. And by the way, we should have pointed this out before. This is for the study only. This is not looking at further financing or contributions to Viola Place from the town of Westville at this point in time. This is just a study to look into that. Right?
but it's a study that would help us to work together with towards a positive solution.
Exactly.
Yeah, to build
Not
a
a solution,
plan.
but a
Build a
helpful,
plan, yeah.
helpful strategies.
Right, absolutely. Very good, thank you. Ship Hector Society, as you know, at our Committee of the Whole meeting last week, we did have a presentation from the Ship Hector Society with regard to their plans, the work that they've been doing on the Ship Hector, and the repurposing of the Ship Hector and making it actually a floating vessel as opposed to just as a statutory or stationary, I should say, museum sort of piece. And, you know, they certainly spoke to the value that they see in everywhere in the county as a result of that happening and what will come. Some of the numbers that they used for the tourism numbers and so on that they see being attracted to the Ship Hector was of interest to me, and I immediately leaned over to the CAO and said, this is good information to have to encourage people to perhaps look at establishing a hotel at Exit 21. So if anybody's listening that's in the hotel business or knows someone in the hotel business, Exit 21 would be prime location, and we still have a need in this county based on the bed occupancy rates at hotels for more beds.
We need more hotels. Yeah.
I know the CAO has been, you know, this isn't something we've made a lot of public announcements on, but the CAO has been working when he finds time on reaching out to people in that area to see if we can't drum up some interest in that. So put it out there again. Anyway, that's a little off the topic, but I think it ties in. So we have a suggested, as a result of the presentation last week, we have a suggested resolution regarding the Ship Hector Society.
Can I make a quick comment just
Absolutely.
before we go to that? I would like to, I appreciated their presentation, and I realize this resolution, it doesn't tie us to a specific financial amount, which I'm pleased to see. I'm comfortable discussing it when we get to our budget time, but at this time, I'm pleased to see that it doesn't have a dollar amount attached to it. I think we have a lot of very important things that are going to be coming down in a very tight budget, and I would just like to, I'm just pleased to see we have it committed to something that we're not sure that
think
all
we
of
all
our
agree on.
citizens would be in
Oh,
support
absolutely.
of, and,
No,
yeah, that's great,
no,
thank you.
it's to be discussed at our budget allocation for grants for the year. And and I will say, as you recall, the request actually, in the request, they're asking all the municipal units for $10,000. However, I think it's important to remember that they did pull that back a bit and say, you know, we'd like you to give what you feel comfortable in giving.
What-
Or
The
what
the
you're
most
capable
What you
important
can,
part,
yeah.
What you're
Can.
capable of giving.
Yeah.
And so they understand that not every unit has the same financial capability to do that. And I think what's more important to them, as I understand it, is the endorsement of, you know, at least endorsing what they're doing. But we'll deal with that when the time comes.
With your permission, Mr. Mayor, the resolution reads as, whereas the Ship Hector Society has requested financial support from Westville to support the project and to restore and market Ship Hector as a regional tourism attraction, and whereas Westville Town Council believes that restored and well-marketed Ship Hector would be beneficial to the Pictou County area, including all municipalities, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council consider how to financially support the restoration and marketing of the Ship Hector project during the town's community grant process, which will be part of the budget process that we're just about to go into.
Okay?
I will move to accept the resolution regarding the Ship Hector restoration.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question? Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on to another presentation that we had at our committee of the whole last week, as you all recall, was a from the Food for Focus Westville 100 project that was a brainchild of Reverend Mary Taylor, who did a wonderful presentation before us with her concept of walking 100 kilometers in one day to raise money for the Food for Focus campaign organization that we're all aware of, which has done tremendous work in school program, feeding families and children who otherwise are in need, with food insecurity in town. And it's a great program that's been successful to this point in time, but they need more money, obviously. And that's Reverend Taylor's hope, is to raise $26,000 in her 100-kilometer walk in one day on the longest day of the year, June 21st. So we have a resolution with regard to that as well.
Yeah.
Say words.
Thank you. Whereas residents of Westville have created a unique program called Food for Focus to assist families with school-aged children who are facing food insecurity, and whereas the program is entirely run by volunteers and funded through grants and private donations, and whereas Reverend Mary Taylor has proposed a unique and inclusive way of providing greater financial stability for Food for Focus by having individuals and organizations sponsor her while she walks 100 kilometers a single day on June 21st, 2025, with the goal of raising $26,000. Therefore, be it resolved that Westville Town Council endorses the Westville 100 initiative, pledges to provide organizational support to the initiative, and consider how to financially support the project during the town's community grants process.
I will move to approve the resolution regarding the Westville 100 by Mary Taylor.
I'll second.
Seconder?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Your worship, can I make a comment,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
Anyone who wasn't able to see the committee of the whole in the presentation, I see this event big. I want the town to pay attention to June 21st because I think a lot of different businesses can take advantage of that date. I think the Westville 100 can be bigger than Mary Taylor alone, but we can raise some pretty decent money. I'd like to get the Legion on board and anyone else who wants to turn June 21st into like a Westville 100 event. And so stay tuned, make sure you're watching and stay on Food for Focus.
I agree, Councillor.
Yeah,
I think that
I'm excited.
Reverend Taylor may surpass her goal.
I think
would
so.
predict, and I would hope. And I agree, it's going to be a tremendous event for the town,
Yeah.
let alone the region. So stand by, there's going to be more information coming on that one for sure.
Your worship, I'd like to just make a comment on this as well. For those who were not here when the Food for Focus first did their presentation, it was quite a phenomenal presentation. Janice Guthrow shared with us
Right.
what's taking place, and I believe that night she shared that they had a breakfast program at the school and at Walter Duggan, and we are aware that food insecurity is a huge problem, and the cost of living, and the many children that live in Westville that are living below the poverty line. But this really came on as just her heart was so put into this when a student asked if they could have an extra baggie of Shreddies from the breakfast program so that they would have something to eat throughout the weekend when school was not in session. So since then, this has gone into place. Can't speak volumes enough and scream thank yous enough more to the volunteers that are doing this. 43 families are anonymously being given food donations every Friday. And I believe that was a total of 146 children that are being fed on the weekends. And they're looking at, it's about a $500 a week what they put into place to drop the food off. So by her doing this and having this vision, they would be a year ahead instead of every month working towards what they need. They would be a year ahead in providing the food that's required for those families that are struggling in our community. So I think it's just a phenomenal thing, and as Councillor Fraser said, I think Westville will come out strong and support this, and as Reverend Mary Taylor said, she would love people to walk with her a little bit, to come out and walk with her a lot, to have the students involved at the school, various places throughout. She's lined out her map. We know exactly where she'll be and how many times she'll be walking it, and I think Westville will make this everyone quite proud. Thank you.
Very well put. Thank you very much. Moving on then to the Sobeys Complex heating letter of support. So, council, this was a last-minute addition to the agenda because I received this email today.
Okay.
And I thought it was time-sensitive because of the fact at the bottom it says, within the next 2 weeks, they'd like a consideration and a reply. So that's why I asked to have it on the agenda tonight. I don't know whether you've actually had a chance to even look at the correspondence that came to me, but basically they're not asking for financial support. They're asking for a letter to support their request for funding to upgrade their heating system at the Sobeys complex, because it's 18 years. The current one is 18 years old, and they've continually experienced needs for repairs, and so they're looking at a project that they estimate to be $110,000 to $120,000, and they've applied for provincial grant money last year, but were unsuccessful, and they're reapplying this year. And so they're asking for a letter of support from us to go with their to accompany their application for the grant. Is all they're asking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know
Your Worship, that
that
seems a no-brainer.
it's. I think we have a resolution as well.
I'll have a draft letter for you.
They're okay. We
Okay.
have a draft
Draft
letter.
letter.
Even better. Look at that.
So, no resolution needed, I
So,
don't think.
I think I think on this one, if we just have a consensus of council to send that letter,
Yeah.
we're good with that?
Yeah, Your Worship, I mean, Westfield citizens frequent that location often. I mean, I don't see a problem with that.
So I will, if council agrees, then the letter will be sent. It's in your package there. I'll sign that letter, and we'll send that off very quickly.
Yep.
That's good.
Done.
All of those things, by the way, bring me to something that I've said this at mayors and wardens meetings with the other mayors and the warden present, that, we're just talking about a number of things here. We're talking about Viola's Place, Ship Hector, the Sobeys complex, those things in particular, among other things that come to us for requests and so on. My thought for a long time has been that we need to somehow identify and agree upon, for the 6 municipal units, what are regional assets? What regional assets do we have? What can be designated as a regional asset? So that when these things come, if it's a regional asset, and we've all agreed that these are things that, benefit everybody in Pictou County, not just if
We're
you
gonna
live in
support,
Westfield,
yeah.
Glasgow, Stilton. We have some ourselves, by the way, that we've very seldom reached out to the other units for support. You can look across the hall. We have the Military Museum. It's the Pictou County Military Museum. And yet, to my knowledge, we've never asked the other units for support of any kind towards that. Not that it's a big financial burden to us, but we provide them with the space. We provide the museum space at no charge. So, there's things such as that, and we have Arcadia Park. We have upgrades. We have Megan's Place that's going to be coming. Obviously, we did get support from the other units with regard to that. I must say, thankfully. But I think I'd like to continue that discussion at some point. That it would make it a lot easier for decisions on some of these things, because then we just say, well, that's been identified as a regional asset, so, what can we do? Or, not saying you have to,
I agree.
but at least we'd have
A
some
list,
sort
yeah.
of criteria, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna push that again at Wares and Mordens. Is that,
Mayors and wardens.
thank you. That's it. Anyway, moving on, then the Riverview Home Corporation, I asked, this wasn't in your original package as well, but I just realized that I'm currently your representative on the board for the Riverview Home Corporation, and there's so many significant things happening there that I thought it was important to have a written report for council. And by the way, we agreed at the board level, and I see former Councillor McKinnon's here in the audience tonight. Councillor McKinnon is a citizen representative on the board as well. But we agreed at the board that we need to make sure that the message that we're giving out to the public and to our individual councils and residents is consistent and the same, and not open for interpretation. So I asked, could we have a written basic report on summation of where we are and what the board is doing that each council can present? So hopefully in the other 5 councils, when they have their meetings, this is the same report they're going to be getting that you're getting tonight. So basically, just so people know, there was a report from the government, and I can't remember when it was, it's a couple of years ago now, called the Remedy Report. And the Remedy Report, bottom line, basically said that the Riverview Residential Center facility needs to close. And residents there need to be in individual homes with no more than 4 in a home. And the idea, the reason for that was that a family basically went to court to plead that people need to be able to make their own decisions, whether they're incapacitated in some way, physically, mentally, or whatever, challenged, that they still have a right to make their own decisions. If they can't make it on their own, then their family, who's ever designated, make it for them. And that's the bottom line of all of this change that's happening. So they have a right to determine where they live. And this is the whole idea behind the Remedy Report, basically. So what's happening is, as of November of 2026, which is coming fast, that residential center in Riverton needs to be closed, and the current people that are there need to be in individual homes out in the community. So that's what you'll see in the report there, that the staff is working diligently towards that, as is the board. There are 44 residents there now, between the residential center and the 3 site homes that are on site there at Riverton. And those people need to be moved out and in individual homes by November, the end of November 2026. And the other important thing to remember there is that we are owners of that facility. As one of the owners of that, 1/6 of the owners of that facility, Town of Westville, the residential center that's there. And so we have given notice, the board has given notice to the province that we're prepared to sell or lease that property, because there'll be no value no need for it going forward. And direction has also been given, this is significant for our community of Westville. At the last board meeting, the motion was made to put out the tender for the construction of homes in the community. And I can say that 3 of those homes are currently designated for Westville. And the staff has been given, the staff has been given, through motion of the board, to negotiate the purchase of 2 additional properties in the county, in the community. Not necessarily Westville, but throughout Pictou County. There's 2 particular homes that they've designated that they're looking at purchasing that they could use immediately with a slight adaptation, perhaps. So that's where it's at right now. The corporation is in good shape financially, which will enable it to do these things. So there'll be more. This is an important matter. This is a very important matter because of the fact that we're a part owner of that facility, and it will be wound down at some point in time. There will be a winding up of that corporation. There will be, as is indicated here in this report, the property there will be up for sale or lease, and so we will be involved in some hard decisions around that through the board, and it'll have to be approved by council, obviously. So I'll leave it at that for now, unless someone has any questions. We can move on. We good? Okay, audit committee, terms of reference.
Mr. Mayor, council will have received a draft of amendments to the audit committee terms of reference. A while ago, council decided that all council members should be on the audit committee. The terms of reference didn't reflect that reality. The changes that have been proposed in the document you have in front of you sorts that out, and so that's what we propose to make those amendments. Again, that got circulated to you in a track changes way so that you could follow the details, and you've got another document in front of you, a hard copy in front of you. I have a resolution regarding the audit committee terms of reference. And I will just point out that, or say that our external member, our community member, was instrumental in assisting staff in getting to a terms of reference that made sense and was compliant with the legislation.
Very good. Perhaps you could read the resolution, and if there's this discussion after that, we can certainly discuss it then.
Of
Before
course.
voting on it.
Whereas municipalities in Nova Scotia are required under the Municipal Government Act to establish an audit committee, and whereas the Westville Town Council has a duly constituted audit committee in place, and whereas the committee's terms of reference have not been updated in some time, and whereas staff have reviewed the existing terms of reference and proposed some amendments which council has reviewed and discussed, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council endorses the revised terms of reference for the audit committee as presented. Might I just add that this issue of the audit committee terms of reference came up during last year's budget discussion, where there was discussion about whether audit committee meetings could be in camera or public, and it was clear that upon reviewing the MGA, it's clear that they must be public, and so the terms of reference reflect that reality.
As Councillor Fraser is aware, it's sort of like the football, when there's a contested play and they do a review, and upon further review,
It's kind of
we
like
overturned
that.
the ruling on the field, correct?
We don't
I'm
talk
sorry to
about
bring that up
football
with the
tonight.
with the Bills
We-
lost yesterday,
We don't
sorry.
talk about
Sore
football
point,
this
yes.
evening.
I know.
Your worship.
Ripping that Band-Aid off.
The resolution?
I would move to accept the resolution and amendments as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on to the fire department elections. The fire department recently held their elections again, and as we're all aware, we have a list of the executive and committee members and so on that were circulated to us. And to my knowledge, that there's been no change in any of the offices. Or Kenny Dunn is still the fire chief, Tom Steele is still the deputy, and Bill Chase secretary, treasurer is Bernie Murphy, first captain Gordie Sutherland, second captain Stephen Jowdry, first lieutenant Sean McLaughlin, second lieutenant Bill Chase, safety officer and fire prevention Rick Ferguson and Chris Seelig, training coordinator Mike Dean, and member at large Dave Conrad is the executive. So I think it's just a matter of accepting this report
I
from
do have a
the fire
resolution for
department.
you.
If someone,
There's a resolution.
There's a resolution.
we have a resolution, of course we do.
I can read it for you, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Whereas the Westville Fire Department held its annual election of officers at the department's first meeting of 2025, and whereas Westville Fire Department has shared the election results with the town of Westville, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council acknowledges receipt of the election results and takes note of the individuals elected to executive positions within the Westville Fire Department.
I'll move to approve that resolution regarding the Westville Fire Department election results.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. And it'd be a good point a good time, I guess, to once again acknowledge the fantastic work that this department does for our town. I've said it 100,000 times, I think, but I'll say it again. Without them, many of the things that we are renowned for as a town, and bring people to our town and to the enjoyment of our residents would not happen without the support and the work of the members of the fire department. And we're just continuously grateful to everything that they do for this town. And I think I speak on behalf of every resident when I say that. So congratulations to the re-elected officers and executive as well. Okay. The liquor licensing memorandum of understanding with Service Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Your Honor, I'll, if you don't mind, take a couple of moments to just explain
I
this.
think you better,
Yeah,
yes, I
please.
think you need to.
So there is a report to council in your package, as well as a draft of the MOU. The Alcohol, Gaming, Fuel, and Tobacco, AGTF division of Service Nova Scotia is the place where a business or an individual would go to get a liquor license. If it's a business going forward and they want to establish, say, a restaurant with liquor service or a bar with liquor service, they also, there is also a requirement to make sure that that facility, wherever it is located in an area that is properly zoned, i.e. commercial zoned. And so if you're a individual looking for a liquor license, you have to go to Service Ontario, or Service Nova Scotia to seek your liquor license. You then have to go to the municipality in which you are proposing to establish that business and seek a letter of zoning confirmation that then gets forwarded to Service Nova Scotia and becomes part of the file, and is approval will not be granted if there isn't alignment between the zoning and the property that you're proposing to put this liquor, this facility that distributes liquor on or sells liquor on. As part of the Government of Nova Scotia's drive to reduce red tape, AGFT has landed on the idea of processing processing the applications for both the liquor license and the zoning confirmation letter at the same time.
Okay.
34 of the 44 municipalities in the province of Nova Scotia have already signed on to this deal. Westville got invited a couple of weeks ago to think about this, and so that's basically what we're suggesting. There is no cost to Westville, and there is no diminishment of Westville's authority or control. What it does do is, so if I was looking for a liquor to establish a business in Westville that would distribute liquor, a restaurant, for example, what I would do is I would go to Service Nova Scotia. I'd say I'd like to apply for a liquor license, and it's going to be at ABC or 123 Oak Street in Westville. And I would fill out the zoning confirmation letter. The people at Service Nova Scotia would then turn around and notify the town, our planner and development officer, and that person would have a certain amount of time, usually about 10 days, to respond, to sort of, look at the zoning map and conclude whether AB 123 Oak Street was appropriately zoned. If yes, he sends a quick note back to Service Nova Scotia. They approve both the liquor license and the zoning confirmation letter at the same time. And it speeds up everything for everybody, and we still get our $100. I believe we charge $100 for zoning confirmation letters. And if the town disagrees with the proposal, then that gets registered at the same time, and presumably then the application gets turned down, and the business owner looks for a different spot, hopefully in Westville, that is appropriately zoned. So it's a very straightforward kind of thing. Again, no loss of control for Westville, no loss of revenue for Westville, speeds up the process, and there hasn't been a liquor license application in this town for
I'm always
these
for
many
that.
years.
Just one.
Exactly.
yeah.
But
Anything is
perhaps,
Yeah.
perhaps there could be one in the not so distant future, and hopefully with more development in Westville, there will be more market for restaurants and those sorts of things, and maybe somebody will step forward and say, I want to have a restaurant and I want to provide liquor service.
So we have a resolution?
So we do have a resolution. Whereas the Alcohol, Gaming, Fuel, and Tobacco Division of Service Nova Scotia has approached the town of Westville about entering into a memorandum of understanding to streamline liquor licensing application process, and whereas staff have researched the liquor licensing process confirmed that entering into an MOU with Service Nova Scotia will provide easier, faster service to those wanting a liquor license with no loss of input, control, or revenue for Westville. Therefore, be it resolved that Westville Town Council directs staff to enter into an MOU with Service Nova Scotia regarding the liquor licensing process.
I would move to accept the resolution as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Next item is pop-up business space grant application.
Yeah, just, this is just for notice. Staff have put forward an application to the provincial government to see if we can get a little bit of money to enhance the pop-up business, area that we've already approved, and we're well on the way to implementing for kind of early spring of this year. So I don't have a resolution on it, but just notice that, if anybody disagrees with seeking funding for additional enhancements, speak
Oh,
now.
heavens, no, we don't want you doing that, right?
I'll pull the application.
I think we're good.
Yeah, and I think the idea is to, like you said, to the pop-up businesses that we're gonna have in the spring, to have more than just, 4 or 5 units down there sitting, looking kind of desolate or whatever, to spruce up the whole area and create more of a buzz and a vibe around that area to entice people to come. So I know that's the idea that we have. Just one thing, speaking of development and so on, I meant to mention this when we're under planning, accepting the planning report, and I neglected to do so. Didn't read my own notes. But how am I going to say this? Well, I'll just say it. I've heard, some comments, and I get a lot of questions. I'm sure you, council members, as well, get questions around some of the things that we've been talking about that are happening in town. One in particular is the retrofit of the school into apartments and daycare and so on, the former Highland Consolidated School. And this week I became aware of some discussion, or rumors, I call them, comments that came to me saying that, that's not going to move ahead because of various reasons. I want to assure you, and I want people to know this, that this project is going ahead. They've applied for the development agreement. Nova Scotia Cooperative Council has taken the necessary step to really initiate the process to start doing the renovations there. The first step is the development agreement that we need to sign with them. They've applied for that. They made that application, and they've also made an application for the rezoning that's required there to change the zoning of that particular area. So it's all moving forward. So I simply say, stand by, hold on. We're moving forward with that project. Mm-hmm. So I just want to assure people that, because I want to quell those rumors if I can. The other thing that I wanted to comment on was the fact that Councillor Mitchell forgot the new Westville team shirt that the CAO and I are demonstrating tonight.
Oh, yes, you're matching that.
I do have one as well, but
Yes, he does.
I know that Councillor McGregor, that's why I'm saying it, and this is the first time I think that the CAO and I have actually arrived at a public meeting with the same shirt on. We have arrived at other places
It
with
would have been much funnier had
but,
Councillor McGregor done
we'll
it.
coordinate that for.
Next time, there'll be a memo going out on that, so we're well aware. Okay, I think
Public engagement.
the next meetings that we have coming up, just before we get into the public part. So we have a Recreation Committee meeting on Monday coming up in the community room. We have the the Neighborhood Watch is going to be held here in the council chambers on the 6th, correct, at 6
Oh,
PM.
sorry, I missed that one. That one's the police,
Sorry.
the police building.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna, yeah, generally over in the boardroom at the police office there, facility. So the neighborhood watch, so I'm gonna encourage people to, I know that they're, have limited, a small membership. I'd encourage people who have some time and some interest in the community to come out and support the neighborhood watch. They do need some help with some more individuals. It's not a very onerous sort of thing, there's a lot of work involved from a committee point of view, but it's the eyes and ears of the community helping our policing in the town and to provide adequate safety to residents in town. It's a very, it was started by former Councillor Murphy, and I know Councillor Dunn was involved in the initial stages of that as well. And I think it's something we don't want to see go by the wayside again. And so I encourage, if you have time to commit, and it's a minimal amount of time, please come out to that meeting on February the 6th at the next door in the boardroom at the police office at 6 PM. Then the Board of Police Commissioners will meet here on the 18th of February. Planning Advisory, which always is a well-informative meeting to attend, is on the 19th of February at 6 PM here. And our Accessibility Committee will be meeting on the 20th, once again here in Council Chambers at 7 PM. And these will all be posted on our website, by the way, and on Facebook. A regular council meeting then for February will be on the 24th of February here, same time, same place, 6 o'clock. With that, any members of the public wish to address council? Now is the time that we allow for that. We have a very attentive, quiet group tonight. And, oh, by the way, just speaking of that, I just, an update, because at the last Committee of the Whole meeting, I mentioned that one of our longtime attendees, and I called him the leader of the Loyal Opposition, Morris Campbell, was in hospital. I mentioned that. I just heard this afternoon that he's been released. He's back home as of today. So things are looking good for Morris, and we send out our best once again to Morris. Nothing, hearing nothing, I declare the meeting adjourned.
We're going in camera? No?
No need for, unless you feel
No,
the
I'm
need.
good.
At least 4 of you are going to get messages
I did.
and emails.
Is it me? Oh, hold on.
Please.
Is there a buzzer?
But it's inside the.
It's inside the door.
It's not outside.
the door.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I was even hitting that.
I just thrown pebbles.
Well, did you email?
I would have thrown some rocks at the window.
Yeah, finally I made a phone call. Yeah.